Hi everyone, welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Monday, and boy does it feel like a Monday. It's July 21st, 2025, and this is episode 312. My name is Carol. I'm known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I live east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've had a good 3+ weeks since we last chatted. This seems to be the norm these days, but hopefully once we're a little bit into the fall, I will be able to have a more regular and frequent recording schedule. Full disclosure, I actually recorded this entire episode yesterday. And in fact, I was just about to make it live on YouTube. I was just taking a quick peek back at it before I hit publish, and I noticed that I had a very unfortunate spot on my shirt, kind of in this area. And I had noticed it later on in the day, thankfully before we went out, and so I had changed my top and used a little stain remover. I think I had brushed up against something, but I did not notice it when I was editing, and it wasn't until it was up in a bigger screen that I saw it. Once I saw it, I could not unsee it, and I thought, yeah, I could not put this episode out and knowing that might be the only thing people are looking at. So here we go again. Sometimes when you re-record things, you kind of forget what you've already said because you think you've said it, but you actually haven't in this particular recording. So things might be a little repetitive once in a while. Having said that, I hope I don't forget anything either. You'll notice, again, a new background. We are still in my craft room, but this is the wall opposite the window, so I thought it would give me good light. I can see this is a little bit in shadow here, but I wasn't about to start fiddling around with that right now. I think it'll be fine, and some fairly decent light for you to see projects and things. That's my biggest concern. If you are interested, you will want to stick around until the end of the episode because I did record a craft room tour yesterday. I know there's a number of people who have expressed interest in that, so I went ahead and put that together. It's not 100% done, but you'll see I did get my comfy chair and some pictures on the wall, and I'm just sort of starting to use it, and there might still be a few little tweaks to come, but it's more or less as it will be. And it's been a great place to escape to when we have construction workers in the house. I can get away from the noise and the dust and stay out of their way also. So I am loving having this room. Yeah, it's everything I had hoped it would be. All right, before I tell you what I've been working on, just a reminder that Stash Spectacular, a year-long make-along, is taking place in the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group. It's a very casual, year-long chatter thread, which you are free to join anytime. So I hope I see you there. Oh, another thing. I'm expecting or hoping for a phone call, so I may have to interrupt things if the phone rings, but I'll deal with that if and when it happens. I should be so lucky. We'll talk more about what's going on later in live chat. Anyway, I have a finished project. I think last time that these were really close to being done. They are my Under the Party Tree socks. So this is a yarn by Fiber Nymph Dye Works in the Mountain Tweed BFL base, and this is the Under the Party Tree colorway. So just a plain vanilla sock, top down, 64 stitches, 2mm needles, 2x2 rib, traditional heel flap and gusset. I used a mini from Fiber Nymph Dye Works in the bedazzled base. I think if I move it the right way, yeah, you can see a little sparkle there. I don't know if there's a colorway name or not. I think I got it as part of a grab bag set, and then my usual rounded toe. So I knew these had been on the needles for a while, and I checked yesterday when I was editing, and I cast these on May 15th. So for me, that's a long time to have a pair of socks on the needles, but they're done now, and looking forward to wearing them when the weather gets cooler. I just love these colors. I do have, I think I showed it to you on one episode. I've got couple minis set aside to do blanket squares for my blanket of cheer. So I'm looking forward to revisiting this colorway when I do that. Something else, just a little project I've worked on a bit, are these little bags for lavender, to make lavender sachets. So I'm part of our local Spinners and Weavers Guild, and there is a spin in, an event that we host in September, and we've been asked to knit these out of hand spun. So I've got those completely done with the ties, and then I've got a couple of done here. This was the my first hand spun sock yarn. Made a pair of socks out of this. So I've got lots of this. I've got these two done. I have one tucked away that's almost done, and I've got enough in the skein for at least one, probably two more. And then for the rest, well, we've been asked to do 5. I'm going to go ahead and probably do about 10, just because I know there are some members that don't knit necessarily, and I'm also not going to be here for the event. I get back from Norway that day, so I thought that's something I could do to help out. So I'm just using some leftovers and some ends. Quite often when you spin, after you finish plying, you'll have some yarn left over on one of or more of the bobbins, and then when that happens, I practice my chain plying, or I'll ply, 2 out of 3 leftover ends together, or however. So that's what I'm using for these. So yeah, kind of fun. They don't take very long. In fact, I did one of these during our last guild meeting, and it was very quick. All right, a couple of works in progress. So the first one is really fun. I went to cast on a new pair of socks just before Canada Day. It was June 30th, and I wanted to use this Canada Day inspired yarn from Polka Dot Creek. So this is the classic sock set, and it came with the main color and then 2 minis. So this is the red is cherry, and then this is gray. And the colorway name, I just love it, is Canada Day. As I said in my episode yesterday when I recorded, I don't know that I say a lot. If I do, I think it's mostly as a, you get that, eh? Or that's not even exactly. I might say, the sky is blue, eh? But I don't think I otherwise use it a lot, but it would be interesting to hear from some of you non-Canadians if you notice that's something that pops up in my speech, because I'm not aware of it if it does. Anyway, there's the Polka Dot Creek logo. So I was just gonna cast on a pair of plain vanilla socks and use these colors, contrasting colors for heels and toes. And then I thought, well, I should go look and see if there's a fairly simple Canada related pattern. For instance, maybe there's a maple leaf lace pattern or something to that effect. And I came across this really cute pattern called Elbows Up Shorty Socks. And that is, I wrote it down here, by Alexandra Mayte. And she is Song Sparrow Knits. I know I have that. I know I have it here on the printed pattern. Yeah, Song Sparrow Knits. So it is a free pattern on Ravelry, but she encourages you to use a Canadian dyed or Canadian yarn for the socks out of support for Canada. Excuse me, I just can feel my nose dripping. Thankfully, I had a Kleenex right there handy because the same thing happened to me yesterday. This is kind of creepy. Anyway, elbows up is a saying that some Canadians have adopted in the wake of some, let's just say, tense relations with the United States. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about, whether you're American, Canadian, or elsewhere in the world. Just a sign of solidarity. So I liked them because they featured the Canadian flag. So I will have shown you a picture by now of the socks. And I don't normally knit shorty socks, but I thought that, originally I thought I would do them as a regular length pair and just do stripes along, do the cuff and the color work as written, and then do stripes in the gray on the leg and foot. But then I was partway into them, I didn't know quite where to start the stripes, and I reconsidered and I thought, oh, they just look so cute as shorty socks. I think I'm going to do shorty socks and I'll wear them at some point. And by the time I reached the point where I'm supposed to add the striping on the foot, I did start it as suggested, and then I realized that because my foot's so small, I wasn't really going to have the room I should have to do the stripes justice. They were going to be kind of in a odd position, and they weren't going to end soon enough before the toe. In any case, I took it back and decided just to do them without stripes. So this is what they look like. I am ready for the heel, or sorry, I'm ready for the toe on both socks. Aren't they cute? And then on the front, there's just a little, I don't know if you can see it very well. This one seemed to have more, I think it has more dots in the yarn that don't make it as obvious as the other, but it's a little bit of a chevron-y pattern here. I think I can show you better on the sock. Yeah. That's the thing with the speckles. Occasionally the speckles land in the middle of the color work, so it's not quite so, doesn't stand out quite as much. That, or who knows, I might even have made a mistake on this one. No, I don't think so. Anyway, in any case, I think they're really cute. I think I either have just enough or not quite enough red left for the toes. So I'm going to attempt them and leave all the yarns intact until I know for sure. And so if I have to, I can take back the toe, knit a few extra rounds in the main color, and then you know, start the toe at that point. So one way or the other, I'm going to get some red toes out of this. And then I'll obviously have lots of yarn left over to do another pair of socks from the main color, and I'll use the gray for the contrasting heels and toes, or heels and cuffs, or, you know, whatever combination I decide on. So yeah, very fun knit. Starting them felt very, I started the cuff on the first one on June 30th, but I didn't start the flag color work until July 1st. So it felt quite the fitting project to be working on on Canada Day. All right, I have one more work in progress. I had hoped I would have this finished for this episode, but it's been a lot warmer lately and I just haven't been working on it for the last week or so. That is my Pressed Flowers cardigan by Amy Christophers of Savory Knitting. And as I explained before, I am knitting the cardigan, but I'm knitting it at the gauge of the pullover, and so I'm knitting a different size than I actually want to achieve to accommodate the different gauge. So I am following the instructions for the cardigan and using the lengths as a guideline, using the schematic as a guideline, but I am knitting it at a larger gauge, I think it is. So I believe last episode, I think I had done 2 or 3 flowers on the sleeve, and I had inserted a picture after I had steeked the sleeve stitches because I left them intact until after I had done some work on the sleeves. And because I steeked, or I used steeks for this armhole openings because I wanted to maintain the color progression on the front and back. So I am knitting this from a couple of different yarns. The first is from Bendigo Woolen Mills. This is the Spring Fling, which is a wool mohair combination in a dark navy. It's actually a little bit brighter than what's showing up on screen. It is navy, but there's definitely a little bit of a brightness to it. And then this is the yarn that I spun from the 2024 Fiber Nymph Dye Works Mystery of Color Holiday Countdown Collection. There's a mouthful. I had dyed the yarn in kind of a gradient, which you can kind of see, or a color progression. And so when I used it as is throughout the body, and then when I hit the sleeves, I wanted the sleeves, or I do want them to be quite similar, and so I'm finding the lengths of the same colors that are spun together, and I'm dividing them in half, and this yarn is feltable, so I'm able to easily join the different sections of yarn together and working my way through, and I'm really happy with how that's working out. Actually, both yarns are feltable, and so that has been great. I don't have a ton of ends to weave in. So there is another look at the back, and then there's the sleeve. Now I actually had knit, I think at least 2 more flowers on the sleeves, and then I tried it on to see if how close I was to getting to the length I wanted before I started the cuff. And I didn't like how it looked, and I ripped it back and am reknitting that section. And what had happened is the pattern has you knit a straight sleeve and then decrease rapidly at the cuff before you do the ribbing. And I prefer a more gradual decrease in my sleeves, and so as you are decreasing, you need to adjust where your flowers end up along the underarm seam. And it had worked out number-wise for me to have a flower close to the seam. I think there was just 1 stitch in between the 2 flowers. And while it seemed good in theory, once I had the sweater on, it didn't look right. And so I am now going to eliminate this flower. I'm now going to be knitting straight, so I'm going to eliminate this row of flowers, so I'll end up having just the plain knitting in here from now on, and I think I'll be happier with that. So I'll maybe bring this just a little bit closer. I know this pattern's everywhere, so a lot of you will have seen it, but it's just a great, so fun to do, and just see how the colors play. It's easily memorizable once you've done, you know, pattern repeat. It's easy to tell if you're in the wrong spot. And it's mosaic knitting, so you're only ever working with one color of yarn, one strand of yarn at once. Now this is a little bit of a nuisance because I am doing my sleeves concurrently. So I do have four skeins of yarn attached to this project. So it's not an easy travel project, as you might imagine. But it's not so bad. You just have to keep untangling, you know, untangling your yarns, but getting there, I'm getting there. But yeah, it's just been a bit too warm to work on. It's a very thick sweater. It's gonna be wonderful when it's finished for warmth. It's just something I haven't been paying a lot of attention to. And part of the reason for that is that I've been spinning quite a bit. So if you are dialed into that sort of thing, you'll know that Tour de Fleece is on right now. Actually, can't remember when it ends. I think it started the 5th of July, and I could be wrong about that. I know I kind of started my Tour de Fleece spinning a day early because I couldn't wait. And I don't remember when it ends, and I know you're supposed to rest on the days that it's all built around the Tour de France, and you're supposed to spin on the days that the racers are racing and rest on the days they're resting, and I haven't paid any attention to any of that. I'm not part of any group on Ravelry or any of that. I just thought it was a good excuse to concentrate on spinning now that I have, you know, my mojo back for that and the space back to do it in and everything. So the first things I spun are these two skeins. So these are both BFL from Useful Creations, a local to me dyer. I've talked about her before. Jude, I bought my spinning wheel from her. I had somebody ask what kind of wheel I have, and though I did answer in the comments in case anyone else is interested, I bought a used Ashford Traveler. Jude thought it was maybe from the 70s, so it's not quite as old as me, but but it works fine, and I do love it. So anyway, my intention, I hadn't bought these two skeins. My daughter had me pick out some braids of fiber from Jude prior to Christmas as my Christmas presents. So I picked them out, she bought them, and then wrapped them up and gave them to me for Christmas. So I had picked these two with the intention of spinning them separately and plying them together, because you can see there's that brick red color in here, as well as, hopefully it's showing up. It showed up really well yesterday. Got like a jade and kind of a purpley color, and then this red. But what happened was when I started plying them together, I didn't really like how it looked. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up. I'm not sure what I expected, but I just didn't like it. Too much red and not enough, I don't know. I can't explain. I guess I pictured it more of a medium, but you know, in some places, well, I knew in some places it would be very similar because of the red. Anyway, the long story short is I got like that much done, and I went, I think I'll like it more if I ply them separately. So that's what I did. So they're both 2 plies. You can see this one is like a tonal red. And then, as I said, this one 3 different colors, and they're applied together with all sorts of combinations. So yeah, very happy with how these turned out. I feel like my spinning was quite even, and yeah, enjoyed those very much. I do enjoy spinning BFL or blue-faced Leicester quite a bit. I find it just drafts easily, it's not too slippery, it's a really nice fiber to spin. And then my next braid that I did was also from Useful Creations, and I had this braid of what Jude calls merino speckle for quite a while. And I had attempted to spin it before, but I found it quite slippery and it kept slipping away from me and breaking, and I put it away because I was just not enjoying it. So I decided, okay, it's Tour de Fleece, I should challenge myself. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to go back to this braid. And you know what? It spun up fine. Maybe not, it's probably, I'm gonna guess it's oh, Carol, words. I'm guessing in large part that it was easier because I've had more experience. And then my daughter had, I think she had 2 braids of this fiber, and she had spun it up last year as a chain ply, and it was beautiful. And so that's what I wanted to do with it. So I spun it, and then I right away, fairly soon after, I started chain plying it. And chain plying, for those of you who aren't spinners, it's like as you spin, it's making a 3-ply yarn, but it's done in such a way that it's like you're almost crocheting a loop after loop after loop with your fibers, and the 3 strands, as you pull the loop through, the strands twist together. So you do technically have little knots all the way through your yarn, but they're so fine you don't really notice them. So I did start, and I was struggling, kept the singles weren't spun tightly enough. They kept kind of not breaking apart so much as kind of wafting apart. That's not the right word, and I can't think of what the word I'm looking for. But so this section has places where I've joined it in. At least I don't know that one was done properly, but I eventually looked up how to join yarns in chain plying if they break. So that was a good lesson too. But yeah, you can see there's a few areas. So I finally just like, okay, enough. And I think I had joined a couple of different sections together even. But I thought, okay, I'll use this for one of those little potpourri bags. But I let my singles sit longer, I think for another day or 2, and I tried again. And this time it went really smoothly. I think the singles just needed time to rest. I think I do have, I'm not even sure, I just saw a piece of fluff I thought was a join, but I'm not sure if there's any joins in here. It went really much better. So it's not perfect, and there's places definitely overspun or whatever, but that's okay. That was a good experience for me to ply like a whole length of fiber. And so yeah, look how the pretty greens. I'm really anxious to knit with all these. You know, I'll make a finish off a skein of hand spun and think, oh, can't wait to see it knit up, and then it doesn't get knit up for the most part. Well, I guess that's not true, because I do have 2 sweaters currently in the works that have hand spun yarn in them, but you know, I need to do like hats and things. So anyway, that's done too. And then I also have this beautiful, beautiful, bright summery yarn that I've got ready to go for my third bobbin. So I'm doing a traditional 3-ply with this. This is also from Useful Creations. There's one of her cards. And this is a merino, not a superwash. And just look at all the pretty colors in there. Yellow, pink, kind of red, blue, green, purple. Like, it is so pretty. So what I'm doing is I've divided it lengthwise into, I think, 18 sections, and I'm spinning 6 together end to end on each bobbin, and then I'll apply them together. So this is the last bobbin's worth here, and here's how they look spun up. I'm not sure the camera is picking up the true brightness of this, but it is really pretty, and I'm anxious to see. Obviously, like the beginnings, well, actually the ends of the bobbins, but then the beginning of where they'll be plied, they're like the same. Start with this yellow and stuff, but because spinning is never so perfect, these colors will barber pole with other colors, and I'm anxious to see that happen. So I have more spinning to talk about, but I also have some acquisitions, and they're related. So I'm going to pause here, go downstairs, and get a skein of yarn that I finished last night and soaked this morning. And then I'm going to talk about that and a really exciting new acquisition. So I'll be right back. When we sold our house and downsized, I said to Cameron that one thing that I would really like to buy with the profits was an electric spinner. And the reasons for that were twofold. One is that even though my wheel is called a traveler, it's not that easy to travel with. It's kind of big and bulky, and it's kind of difficult to go anywhere with. And the other reason is that I started developing some problems with my right foot kind of last summer, early fall. And although I don't think spinning, the treadling, because my wheel, I treadle with my right foot, even though I don't think treadling is entirely to blame, I do think it contributes to the problem, because whenever I spin for a while, my foot starts to hurt, and I have a little bone on the outside of my foot that protrudes, and it protrudes more when it's stressed. And so then the question was, which e-spinner do I get? And I was torn between the Ashford and the electric eel wheel by Dreaming Robots. And in the end, the electric e-wheel won out, or eel wheel, I should say, for a variety of reasons. And so I thought, I kept putting off buying it, and then I thought, oh, Tour de Fleece is, you know, coming up, or it's here. I can't remember when I exactly went to look on the Chaotic Fibers website. That's a Canadian dyer and retailer located near Victoria on Vancouver Island, and she's a dealer for the Dreaming Robots products. So I was going to get it from her, and I had looked off and on the website. And so when I decided, okay, I'm going to order it, I looked and it was out of stock. But she said she was getting more in, And so I just kept checking back, and sure enough, they came back in, and so boom, I placed my order right then, and within a few days I had it. I got it last week, I think on for the 15th, whatever day that was. So I've only had it for like 6 days. Now, I fully expected there to be quite a learning curve, being so different from my manual spinner. Is that what you call it? I don't know if that's the right word. Traditional spinning wheel. But actually, it was surprisingly easy. So I had ordered some fiber along with the wheel. So maybe I think I'll show you the fiber, then I'll talk about what I spun, and then I'll show you a couple of things I bought to go with my e-spinner. So let me just clear a couple things away here so I could reach my purchases. So the one thing I bought, she had a couple of different yarns that are not yarns, braids of fiber that were suitable for socks. And so one of them I chose was a Pullworth nylon, and I thought that might be a good one to start with. Not really knowing if Pullworth was sort of similar to BFL or a little more rustic or not. Turns out it's not. It's actually fairly slippery. I've learned that since. But I chose that over the merino nylon blend that I also purchased. But as it turned out, it spun up really well. So I'm going to put a picture here of the original braid. And then last night, before I took it off the wheel after plying, I have a picture here of what it looked like on the bobbin. And then here it is here. So it's still wet. I did a traditional 3-ply, very similar to how I divided things up and spun things for the merino that I just showed you. And I love how it's spun up. Like, look how pretty that is. All the different barber poling, some parts, you know, spinning basically onto its own colors like that. Looks like that's like 3 plies of the same or very close. In others, you know, definitely contrasting. Yeah, and I was quite pleased. I mean, I do have the odd, you know, thicker area, but in general it's spun up quite fine. And I think that'll make a really lovely pair of socks. In fact, I think that's going to be my next sock project once my Canada Day ones are done and the yarn dries. And so with what I had left over, I did a chain ply. Just practiced it again, and I had watched a video recently, like since my last chain ply. In fact, I might have only watched it yesterday or the day before, and so I tried some, you know, a new technique for it. But yeah, I just love seeing how they work up differently, how different they look when you're plying with one or more plies on from different bobbins, and then when you're doing the chain ply, because the chain plying preserves those long lengths of color. So anyway, I'll hang that back up after, and hopefully it will dry soon. I know I ran into some problems, some areas where I had overplied, and that was just part of learning this wheel because it wasn't taking up, and then I didn't clue in what I had to do to fix that right away. But overall, happy with it, and I think it'll make a really nice pair of socks. And so the other yarn that I got for socks is this merino nylon. Oh, and here's the chaotic fibers tag. So this just reminds me of summer and popsicles. Grape, lime, and orange. And I guess there's a little bit of yellow in there too, but when I saw it, I thought, oh, that would be really fun. So this braid I will divide in half here and have two lengths that are very similar, going from purple to green, and I'm going to chain ply each of these, and so I can make sort of matchy, somewhat matchy socks. So I think that might be my next spin. That's what I'm thinking about. So very fun. And then I got a couple other things too. This beautiful, let's see if I can do that without the light. I don't want to take these out. There's 250 grams of merino in here. You can see it reflecting my overhead light. Oh, and you can see the fan too. Anyway, this is called Very Berry. So there's 10 25-gram bumps, or I think this is just combed top. I guess I'll find out. Anyway, I think that'll be really fun. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do with it and exactly how I'm going to spin it, but I think it would be fun to have the colors all, you know, barber poling together as opposed to spinning them and chain plying, having them stay together or doing them separately. I just think these all together will blend really nicely. And then I also got just a couple of grab bags. I think they were $10 for 100 grams. And I just thought that was something I could practice with, or I don't know. I just didn't know what I was getting. I thought it was worth the surprise. So that's a nice bright pink there. This bag has some red, some green, some white, and there's some dark green here. So I thought I might sort those out, put them aside, and do something Christmassy. Not sure what. Not like I'm going to, there's no nylon, so I can't do socks. And I probably wouldn't wear a green, red, and white hat, but maybe I'll do up some handspun and maybe knit some little sweater ornaments or something like that. Anyway, I just thought I'd see what I got, and I think that'll be kind of fun. So, my spinning wheel. So here it is. I love this feature. That's the orifice hook, just sits there on the magnets. Came with 6 bobbins, which hold, I think is it 8 ounces each? So that's one thing I'm really excited about too, is for instance, the yarn that I'm spinning on my Ashford, I have 3 bobbins full, and when I go to ply them together, they may not, in fact, they probably won't all fit on one bobbin. So I'm going to ply them on here, and then I definitely will end up with one continuous length of yarn. So that's awesome. You can, it comes with a cord to plug in, and then also a cord that has a foot pedal on it that you can stop and start your wheel with, which I'm finding really handy because it's very instantaneous. Just tap it and stops right away. Came with quite a few extra parts, like new elastic bands here for your flyer, and extra cord here for this side, for your I think that's the drive band. No, this is your drive band. That's the, I don't know, for the tension anyway. I'm still not completely clear on all my spinning wheel lingo. Anyway, you can also buy a battery to run it. And that was very appealing to me, to be able to take it anywhere and be able to go sit outside or whatever. So the Dreaming Robots site does have a link to a couple of batteries that they recommend. I could get it from Amazon in the States and have it shipped here, but I prefer to buy something here in Canada. So I found a battery that was sort of comparable, and it turned out that it just fit perfectly here in the base. So that was awesome, because I definitely was looking at that and I thought, yeah, it should work. And sure enough, so yeah, you can, that's the base, you can just put back on and click it in place. And so I can take my pick whether I want to spin from the with the plug-in or just the battery. And actually the battery pack that I got, I can actually have it plugged in and it will charge as I spin. So yeah, I think that'll be great. And as I said, I expected quite a learning curve, and I have not found it difficult at all to get the hang of it. One thing that I was wanting was a little case to carry it in to protect it. And when I went online, there were a number of people who discussed, sorry, I'm just trying to, I don't want to pull this up yet. I've got it still plugged in there. So I better take that off or I'm going to end up dragging it off my table here. There's the little foot pedal that plugs in. In any case, a lot of people seemed to use bags that were meant to carry sewing machines. And so I went online, went to Amazon also, and just looked at a bunch of different ones, and I ended up choosing this. And I'll provide a link to it and the battery and everything else I talk about in the show notes below. But I liked this one because obviously the inside is very roomy. So I can carry my spinner plus extra bobbins plus extra fiber plus other things. What I liked about it is it had this pad that's foldable, and so I can put it in the bag like this, separate my machine from the rest of the things. So I found that quite handy. I can store the pedals in the end pockets. There's little cards that come with it with instructions, and then there's little, it's black so it's hard to see, but there's like a little net zippered pocket in the pocket on each end. And then you can see front pocket too, both one on the outside and then one that goes around. And then there's one here that's on the netting here, and then all these little pouches inside here. And since it's meant for a sewing machine, like these will fit a couple spools of thread, but I'm sure I'll find plenty of things that I can store in here. So I'll take my scale with me. I can take my Lazy Kate with me. Like I'll just be able to take this and have everything I need to spin all in one place. And then one other thing that I decided to splurge on is a yarn counter, also from Dreaming Robots. So this, you feed in the yarn. Let's see if we can isolate that. There, you can see the springs here. So this sits in between your ball winder and your Swift, and you feed your yarn through here and around this disc and out that side. And then as you wind your yarn, you can choose either a universal kind of average thickness, that like the default thickness, or you can, there's a little card, you can compare the size of your yarn, the thickness of your yarn to the card and pick that number and program it. And then as you wind, it measures your yardage. And I have a Nitty Naughty, which is designed to wind your yarn, and you're able to, mine measures to 36 inches. So if I count all my each loop. It should give me an idea of how much I have. I don't like using it. I end up just winding my yarn onto my Swift after I spin it. And then there's a kind of a way you can estimate how much your yarn you have by laying out your loop of yarn, measuring it, times it by 2 for the full circumference, count by the and then multiply that by the number of strands and divide it by 36 to find out how many yards you have. But it's not as accurate. And so what I did actually after I got this, the first thing I did, I didn't try out my spinner. I tried out this and rewound like these yarns, and I went from Swift to ball winder and ball winder to Swift, so I could I didn't want them wound up in balls, but I wanted to measure them. And so I was measuring going both directions and came up with very similar lengths at both directions. So I know it feels like it must be quite accurate. So that'll be nice to have a really good idea of how much yarn yardage I actually have with my hand spun. I think it'll come in handy too, even just with regular yarn if you're I guess unsure of maybe of a partial skein, or I don't know. I'm sure I will use it for other things. So yeah, I was happy to get that too. I thought about getting the Lazy Kate from Dreaming Robots too, because it's very portable and you can click them. They're magnetic, the different they're like a little base with a one second. I'm gonna grab my other Lazy Kate. So this is my Ashford tensioned Lazy Kate. Peg, I guess that's the right word. So I can apply three bobbins on here, and I have tried it for the Dreaming Robots bobbins and it works fine. And so for the time being anyway, I'm not planning to purchase it, but I do think they would be handy, more portable than this for sure. And also they have some kind of cap on them that sometimes you want to ply from the inside and the outside of your yarn at the same time, and this has a cap to make that less likely to get tangled. So eventually I may purchase that, but for now I'm going to make do with my Ashford one. I'm quite excited because Chaotic Fibers is going to be at Knit City, Vancouver in September, and I'm going to be going there with my daughter-in-law, Stephanie. And so chances are, well, definitely I'm sure she'll have fiber, but maybe she'll even have some of the Lazy Kates, or if not, maybe I can even arrange for her to bring one for me if I decide that that's something I want to get. But I'm looking forward to seeing that booth and many, many others. I suspect that my purchases are going to be more spinning based than yarn based, just having, because just after having moved here and organizing all my yarn stash and stuff, I don't have a great burning desire to buy more yarn, which is a good thing. You will see if you watch the yarn tour that a lot of it is in plain sight. It's all well organized. I can really see what I have, and it's very inspiring. So I'm looking over there because that's where my wall of yarn is. And yeah, it's very inspiring to see what I have and things that I want to make. And so yeah, I don't have any great burning need to go buy more yarn, which is not to say if a special skein catches my eye that I wouldn't get it. All right, I better take a sip here and then move on to live chat. So renovations continue. Are you tired of hearing that? I'm tired of living it. But it has been exciting over the past couple of weeks to see our kitchen coming together. So we have all the flooring's in, all the cabinets are in, and the countertops went on last Thursday, I think it was, and the sink's in. Now, there is some finishing work to do, which won't take place probably till mid-August because the parts they need are not coming in till probably next week, and then we're going to be heading out of town on a holiday, which I'll talk about in a minute. So I think it's going to be mid-August till they can do the finishing touches on the cabinets. In the meantime, we should be able to start using it pretty soon. So tale of woe for Monday. So the tile backsplash was supposed to go in today. And so the guy arrived right when he's supposed to this morning, and then he looked at it, and one of the things was, he said, do you have any paint? Because this area really should be painted. It had been drywalled and not painted, and my impression was that it didn't need to be painted because it was going to have the backsplash on it, but I guess it needs the paint for it to adhere. So he said it won't take that long to dry, so I grabbed the paint, immediately started painting this area while he was getting his supplies ready and stuff. And then when he came in and took a closer look, he said, the cabinets are up on the one wall, but there are spaces in between them awaiting what are called gables. So it's basically side pieces that cover up the fill in the gaps, and then it finishes the cabinets on the outside, so you see the finished wood, not just like the insides of the cabinets, the melamine, like it's the outside of the inside, if you know what I mean. And he said, I can't put the tile up without those done. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's on the phone to his boss, and he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do it. And I'm thinking, great. So the cabinet people, it was they meant to finish, it just didn't work out. Things happened, and they had to order some things for it. So here I'm thinking, oh, they didn't think to say we need to delay tiling. So I'm kind of thinking it's the contractor that's at fault, and so I end up phoning and then leaving a message, finally got hold of someone. In the meantime, the tile guy's long gone to another job. And then the contractor's like, no, he can do that. He knows how wide the gables are gonna be and blah, 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 and that's, so he was gonna phone the guy's boss. So here I am, I'm waiting to hear back. He's like, don't worry, it'll happen. I hope it happens. In the meantime, we've got our nephew who's been doing our plumbing. He's coming in Wednesday to hook up our faucet and our dishwasher and our fridge and our bathroom sinks. We have new bathroom cabinets and one that we got laminate countertop for. It's all completely installed and working. So we do have one bathroom that's completely functional. The powder room and our ensuite are awaiting faucets and plumbing, which is supposed to happen Wednesday, so hopefully that all works out. Anyway, you don't need to hear it all, and I'm sure it's boring, but it's just frustrating because now I'm not exactly sure when the tiling is going to happen, and the hanging up, installing the over the range microwave with hood fans depended on the tiling being done, and the like all of a sudden now there's these things that are depending on another. So we'll see how things go. First world problem, I'm fully aware of that. It was feeling very stressful today because I'm thinking the end is in sight. I was led to believe that, oh yeah, you can go ahead and move into your kitchen, and we've already moved some things into the cabinets and things, and now I'm kind of like, is that going to be delayed? So we shall see. We've managed this long, we can manage again. It's just disappointing. So I'm looking at my notes because now I've got things in different orders because I'm recording a day later. Yesterday, a happy occasion, we went over to our daughter's place to celebrate her 40th birthday, which actually occurs in a couple of days. So it was just a barbecue with some family and friends. Our son-in-law did pulled pork, and then we all brought things to go with it, and berry trifle for dessert, which was delicious. So that was really fun. So we have some more family things coming up. Maybe I'll go in order of when they're occurring. So first up, we are going to be driving back to Saskatchewan in a couple of weeks to attend a ceremony interring the ashes for two of Cameron's aunts who passed away last year. So you might remember last July we drove out to Alberta, and the original reason for that trip was to have a small celebration of life for Cam's aunt who had passed away in March. And then just before we were going to be going to Alberta, we learned that his other aunt, who lives in Calgary, had gone into the hospital and was diagnosed with terminal cancer. So we decided to, since we had our hotels booked and everything, had already made plans that we should go see her while she was still alive. And so she did pass away in August, and her family made plans to inter her ashes and her sister's ashes in Regina, near where they grew up, this August. And so we are going to drive out for that, and then on our way back we're going to stop at our family cabins and have a few days there, because that's probably the only time we're going to get up there this summer. Except for, I think I told you an episode or two ago that our younger son and his girlfriend had gotten engaged and were planning a wedding for next spring. Well, a couple of weeks ago, they decided that they really didn't want the stress and expense of a large wedding. And so they have decided to get married up at the cabins on September 6th. And so lots to kind of fall into place between now and then. But we will be heading back up there for that weekend. Just kind of hadn't really expected to, but we will be doing that. It's going to be a busy rest of the summer between our travel and continued renovations, and then a couple of days after we get back from the wedding weekend, I am leaving for Norway. The one good thing is that we will be able to bring my mom back with us when we go for the wedding, because she needed to have a way down anyway, because she and my one of my nieces and one of my sisters, the four of us, are going on this trip to Norway. So that actually works out really well for that. What it doesn't work out as well for is just more things that need to be done between now and then. It'll all come together. I'm sure it will all be fine. But yeah, just one more event happening. So it's definitely been an unusual year, and I don't think until probably sometime in the fall, it won't be until sometime in the fall that I think I will truly feel kind of settled and like life is back to normal. In a lot of ways, it just feels like real life has been suspended for the past, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5 months, and will continue for the next month or two. But it's okay, it's all good. It's just, stresses. We all have them. First world problems. I keep telling myself that we're very privileged to be able to do the things we do. But that doesn't mean that they aren't stressful. I'm sure you understand. So something good. So my something good is that, speaking of privilege and being very fortunate, something good is my craft room. As I mentioned earlier, it's just been a great place to escape to while other parts of my life are hectic. And I am happy to show you around. So if you're not interested in seeing the craft room, that is all well and fine, I understand. Thank you so much for watching today. Thanks for all your comments and continued support, especially through this kind of crazy time. So take care, and I'll hopefully see you back in a few weeks. And then if you are interested in the tour, stay tuned. And I'll also see you hopefully in a few weeks. So take care, everyone. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. Welcome to my craft room. It's time for a little tour. The first thing you see when you come up the stairs is the door to my craft room. So let's go on in. This is one of 2 bedrooms upstairs, but because we have a big master bedroom downstairs, we are able to use these rooms for other purposes. So this larger of the 2 is my craft room, and then the other is a den/guest room, which will eventually have a sofa bed in it. So one thing I love about this room is the size. It's a huge room, and I have plenty of room in the middle there to set up a folding table if I want to do a jigsaw puzzle or cut out fabric or lay out a bunch of yarns to try and match up things for, a shawl or something. So I really appreciate having all that free space. It is a work in progress still, although it's mostly finished. I'm still tweaking things. I'm going to bring up my quilts to add a little bit more color. And yeah, I'm just still trying to find the best and most functional layout for it. Also, a word about the lighting. Because there's so much glass on the shelves, I was really struggling to with glare, having the overhead light on or the window open. So normally it's a really bright room here, and I often don't even need to put on a light if it's during the day, because the window lets in lots of light. So come on in, I'll give you a quick pan, and then I'll go around and show you things in more detail. So there you can see my whole wall of cabinets that holds my yarn, fiber, books, patterns, spinning and weaving supplies, and then my loom, sewing corner, which I love having in front of the window. In my old house, at some point I rearranged my craft room and ended up with my sewing table in front of the window, and I loved it because it gave so much light for when I was working. Huge double closet there with mirrored fronts, which just give the room an even larger feel. Oh, you can hear my washing machine draining in the background. I'm going to close the door in a minute anyway. So then on this side of the room, it's like a little corner, the slant to the wall there. So you can see I've got my spinning wheels there, and then I've got my comfy chair set up with my art light, a little side table, and a basket of projects. So this is truly a room I can come in and work in, whereas my old craft room, it was mostly a storage room with a sewing table and ironing board. So here I come and sit and spin or sit and knit, weave, set up, like I say, a table to do jigsaw puzzle. I love it. It's my little, I guess if you have man caves, this is my woman cave. So there's the door, which I'll close now. What I love about this is just the way the shelves are. It creates this little kind of nook in the back there, where for now I've tucked my ironing board, ring light, blocking wires, mats, and mat for cutting out fabric. I think I will eventually get a thing to hang the ironing board up on the wall, but it's nice when the door's open, all of that's kind of hidden out of sight, and most of the time the door is open. So I will show you my cabinets and try and minimize the glare while I do so. So most of the yarn that is being displayed is organized by type and in some cases color. So starting over here, these let's see, top two shelves. Let me see if I can do that. Is that better? Nope. Top two shelves are lace weight yarns. And then this bottom shelf is single ply yarns like Madeline Tosh, Tosh Merino Light. These three double shelves are all of my hand-dyed sock yarns, mostly single skeins, organized by color. And then over here, the top shelves are the glares on the right-hand side, but that's all my commercial sock yarn there. This next shelf down holds my, let me see, really struggling to find something where there's no glare. It's pretty well impossible. Anyway, these are all of my gradient skeins and gradient sets and mini skeins and sock blanks. And then here's a mix of mostly single skeins of DK, Sport, Worsted, and Bulky. Basically everything but fingering. And then in these cupboards below, so let me give you a wide angle shot. So that's that wall. You can see all my books there, and then these are books and patterns on the bottom for like crochet and little narrow pattern books that you get, like you used to get from Peyton's or Annie's Attic, those types of things. And then as I was saying, in underneath, more yarn. And then these are all of my loose patterns. And then in other cupboards have like sweater quantities. One of those boxes there holds all of my solid commercial sock yarns that I will often reach to for heels and toes, and some miscellaneous things in the boxes there. And then this side That's all my hand spun up top. I apologize. It's so hard not to have any glare. And then the shelf, and half of that shelf, that's my spinning fiber, and these are yarns I've set aside for weaving. And as you can see, I've tucked all sorts of little fun things into the cabinets just to kind of have kind of a whimsical look. Oh dear. My little llama or alpaca, I'm not sure. A little knitter from the North Pole. And just little personal touches, which I really love. So again, just to give you perspective, that takes up most of one wall and a little bit of another. That cupboard has like weaving supplies, spinning supplies, things like that, embroidery thread. And then I've got my take time to knit and take time to stitch pictures here. They don't stand out against the wall, especially when the lights are not on or the window's not open, but I really wanted them to have a home in here. And yeah, so happy to have my loom in this room. I'm so anxious to set it up and do some weaving again. It's been way too long. I got this new sewing table when we moved here, and what's neat about it is it basically takes up this whole spot under the window, so it was just the perfect size. And then if I wanted to, I could fold it down. This wall here folds in, and then this top drops down. So if I really needed more space, I could condense that. And then over here, things like hard to do with one hand. Different sewing supplies, thread, needles, you know, sewing machine feet, etc., etc. I am not going to open the closet doors. There's lots of storage in there. Things like yarn remnants, cross-stitch projects, just a lot of miscellaneous things. It's just nice to have a place to kind of stack them and close the door, and so the room looks nice and tidy, but everything I need has, you know, is at my fingertips, literally. And I had showed you this clock from a knitting friend, which I love, and then I had got these pictures years ago. I saw them first on the Knit Girls podcast. I think one of the pictures is meant to be the Knit Girls, Laura and Leslie. And I just loved them, and so I got them for myself and had them framed. So as I said, I can sit here on my chair, spin at my Ashford Traveler, and then just here, just a basket. I will keep my spinning fiber in as I'm using it, and like my orifice hook, things like that. And then this is just a box of spinning supplies. My Lazy Kate is turned upside down in there, but just, it actually serves as a nice little table for that. And then my newest baby. So I can easily bring this over beside or in front of my chair here and sit in my comfy chair and spin on my e-wheel. And here's my comfy chair, and when the window's open, I can see outside, see some of the mountains. This picture on the left was also a gift from a knitting friend, the same one who I got the clock from with some a gift certificate she had sent. And then these pictures were done by our grandkids, our older two grandkids, years ago, and I had those framed, and I just really thought they brought a nice pop of color into the room. I'm thinking about possibly weaving cushion covers for in here, like just adding even more color. I like the neutral walls, but I definitely want some color to reflect this creative space. So I know it's hard to get everything in because the room is only so big, but there you have it, my craft room and creative space. The mountains are hiding a little bit today, but this is the view I have when I'm sitting in my cozy chair. So it's nice to have a view of the outdoors while I work. So I hope you enjoyed that little craft room tour. I feel incredibly fortunate to have such a wonderful space to feed my creativity, and I hope you're lucky enough to have the same, large or small. Happy crafting, everyone.